so it's not for kids.
There's like a great bit, because you know that song that goes like, it's me or the PS5? Not a hard choice.
What the hell are you talking about?
It's like Olivia Rodrigo, right? I think it's me or the PS5. Have you heard that song?
Is that a top Billboard, top 10, top 100, top 10?
It's definitely become like a viral sound. So this is just like you displaying your UNC status for our like Zoomer listeners. But the funny thing about it is that the PS5 has like almost no appeal because its games library is still non-existent. But me or the PS2, that's a hard one.
Gran Turismo 2, Ratchet and Clank. Like, come on, there's some classics in there.
There are a lot of good games
Full
on
backwards
PS2.
Compatibility with the PS1.
Right?
This is 100% lifted for Northern Lion. I gotta say that before someone flames us. My favorite story about Pepsi, too, in order to have domain in the Soviet Republic, they traded for like warships.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so I've heard that story.
At one point, they were like the world's 5th largest naval army.
Yeah.
Which is just fucking awesome.
Join the Pepsi army.
Yeah. Pepsi Nation. Yeah.
See, little upstarts like that. With their own warships.
Yeah.
Welcome to Shelf Stable, a podcast celebrating board games that have stood the test of time. I'm your first host, Kenny Katayama.
And I'm your other host, Tom Bowers. Today, the main topic is how to do a convention, Tenet style. There are 2 timelines. They're converging. Wait, that's not Tenet. That's like Primer or something.
Yeah, we're doing something kind of funny here. We're having 2 guests, Amp versus Amp, in the same episode, but I'll splice them together because unfortunately schedules didn't align.
To help us figure out how to get out of the time loop and answer our questions about convention running, we'd like to introduce our special guest, Chris Whitpan and Ryan Hartman. Ryan, welcome to the show.
And then we'll come back to Chris here.
Oh, I'm glad I got in first. You know, this is convention life. I have to be across the pond and at a show next week, and then I'm at Gen Con the week after that. So, 14 shows a year. Busy schedules, man.
No worries. We're making it happen. Yeah. Do you want to say hi or say something to future Ryan?
Oh, give a shout out to the C team and Ryan. He's the reason I have my job at the end of the day, so I can't complain too much, right?
Hey, thanks, Chris. I like your hat.
Occasionally, Ryan finds something nice to say about me just like that, and I'm always appreciative every time.
There you go.
All right, Chris. Who are you? Who do you think you are?
Sure. Well, I'm still trying to figure that out. But my role is I'm the head of tabletop for PAX East, West, and Unplugged. But essentially, if you want to come to the show, if you want to participate as an exhibitor, I'm your entry point to come to the show. So I've been able to contribute to grow, help develop the show, and really kind of put my special stamp on it and provide some consistency for exhibitors over the last, going on 5 years now.
That's exciting. So Tom and I have been to a few board game conventions over the years. We've never been to PAX Unplugged, but we have already booked our flights.
Okay.
In the process of planning our trip and kind of figuring things out, we were like, this would be a good topic for the pod. I, for one, have no clue how any of that works. Mm-hmm. I did very loosely some event planning for music, for like very small scale, like concerts and things, but it was a lot of work even at that level. I'm very much in admiration of what you do, I guess.
Oh.
And so this is a kind of a way to understand how it works behind the scenes and things like that.
Great. I'm happy to talk about any of the process. It's been new to me over the last, I guess, probably 10 years as I've been board gaming. So it's something I've had to learn and develop and grow as I've kind of launched onto this second half of my career. So
nice.
There's a lot to it.
What made you decide to make that transition, switch over into this?
I guess it was, I'm one of those guys who came out of tabletop. Like, tabletop episode 2, I was there, I was watching.
Nice.
I started hosting board game nights with my friends, and then that quickly evolved into going to local meetups back when meetup.com was the thing, doing board game nights. My first game that I ever played at a board game night was Sulkin The second I ever played was Macau. This is the group I got in with right out of the gate.
Tzolk'in is intense for a first.
Yeah. Dude's Kickstarter just showed up and he wanted to play it. And it just kind of really showed me that, there's more than Cards Against Humanity and Ticket to Ride, because that's really all I knew. Then I started going to game stores, whatnot. All this time, I was a chef and restaurant manager for the last 20 odd years of my life. I mean, in the early 90s, I got into culinary school and I started doing that. And then I kind of realized quickly, it took me about 12, 15 years to realize that the guy who's really calling the shots is the one running the restaurant. And so I started working in the front. And I was running restaurants. And at the end of 2019, I'd done some convention work for like Capstone Games. I'd done some light graphic design work here and there, some pickup stuff. And then at the end of 2019, the restaurant group I worked for got sold off and I was left without a job and I got laid off. So I had months of unemployment coming my way. I looked at my wife and I'm like, look, I don't want to be a 50-year-old guy running an Applebee's. I feel like there's a joke in there that's like from a movie I've seen, and I just don't want to do that together.
Office space,
Right. Never spent time in a cubicle, but I get office space. So I just kind of got to a point where I'm like, you know what? I want to try and give board games a run. I got my first job working events for Renegade, and then the pandemic happened. And I pivoted, and I'm the reason Renegade Con Online exists, because I pitched that whole concept and ran it. So got to make myself known. I ran a YouTube show for a while, so I got to know a lot of people in the industry through that. Then my buddy calls me up 2 years later and says, hey, PAX Unplugged is looking for a sales guy. I think you should apply. And I got rejected in 2 hours.
They work quickly.
They did. And he's like, no, give me a resume. I'm going to send it up the chain. So 5 interviews later, I got hired, and it's been a dream. I absolutely love how much control, how much help, how much fun I get to have at a show. It's awesome. So that's a history of me.
That's great. I'm glad you're enjoying it. I mean, it seems like an awesome job to have.
There's definitely hard days. Don't get me wrong.
Undoubtedly.
But it's very rewarding when you put on a big event and you get to watch 45,000 people enjoy it. You're like, I built a big chunk of that.
You made this.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not responsible for all of it. It's a big team.
Only the good parts.
Yeah.
The parts I'll own. Right. If you love something, let me know. If you don't, let Ryan know.
Yeah.
Right.
So Ryan, for the listeners at home, how did you come to be in this position? And then I guess what you're currently doing, where you're focusing?
My main day-to-day is running PAX and all of like our content, the stuff we put out on the Penny Arcade. How I got into this role is I just kind of got lucky. I mean, as most people do, I don't ever trust anyone who gets into like a good position and doesn't attribute some measure of it to luck. Like anyone who says like, oh, I was chosen by God is someone you should avoid. But
that sounds like a survivor's bias or whatever.
It is survivor's bias. Yeah. It's like, I made it. Everyone can make it. That's like someone who won the lottery and they're
just work real hard.
Yeah. Sell your house, buy lottery tickets. I did it. You could do it too.
I especially love this when a lot of the advice, especially if it's a financial guru, comes down to just like owning multiple multi-tenant properties. It is just kind of like, well, if we all became landlords, who would pay the rent anyway?
Yeah.
I digress.
We'll all have Airbnbs.
Yeah.
I went to school for film and journalism. Going to school, I thought for sure I was going to go to LA. Like that was the plan. Then coming out of school, I started dating my now wife in college, and she got a scholarship from Pennsylvania, a very small scholarship, like $3,000. But graduating college, that's a huge amount. And the way it was structured was like, it was free money as long as you stayed in PA for like 3 years after you graduate. We didn't want to pay it back. So she was like locked in PA. And we were like, that's fine. Looking back, her and I have both said, we were like, we should have just moved to LA the second we graduated. So we were pinned to PA for a minute. It was like a way to retain talent for the state. My first job was at the NBC news affiliate in Philly. And it was cool. It was crazy. It was a lot of work. It was just like an editorial assistant, but it didn't pay great. I don't know if you know anyone who works in the news, but didn't pay great. Also, a journalism degree in mid to late 2000s was not a great place to be. I was photojournalism or work at a paper. It's Prince dead by '08.
Yeah.
Right.
I quit that job and I worked for a few years at a healthcare company, straight up data analysis stuff. It was just a complete job. It was just a check. And then from there, I was a fan of Penny Arcade and I read the comic a lot and I was super into games. And I knew I either wanted to get into entertainment industry or the games industry. I was still paying attention to all that stuff. And a role opened up for PAX. This was right after Penny Arcade and Reed got together. PAX is put together by two entities. It's put together by Penny Arcade and Reed Exhibitions. Reed is an event company. They do a ton of events, a lot of B2B stuff, a lot of industry events, but then they also have a pop culture arm that at the time they were just spinning up. So they do New York Comic Con, they do Star Wars Celebration. In regards to how the two companies work, Penny Arcade is a lot of the front of house stuff, a lot of the merch, a lot of stuff the fans see, a lot of the content they touch. Reed helps a ton on the back end, helps dealing with the building, helps with the logistics, helps with the operational stuff, with the badges and things like that. It's the core of how you put an event together. The job opened up working on PAX with Reed. It was announced on the Penny Arcade website, which speaks to how the two companies work together. I applied to that job. I was lucky enough to make my way through and I got picked. And this was end of 2011. I was at Reed for 5 years, and then there was a bunch of stuff happening within Reed and the event stuff, and it was great. I loved it. Robert was the president of Penny Arcade. He's awesome. So I was if we did a PAX or a gaming show, they're just going to defer to Robert. I'm going to be in charge of something. So I internally pitched a show, what became Unplugged. I was hey, I want to do a board game show. It was 10 years ago, right? 10, 12 years ago.
Was it called Min Max?
It was called Min Max, yes. So I was hey, I want to do a board game show. So I pitched it internally. We were going to call it Min Max. Reed was cool, we'll just do a PAX with Penny Arcade. And I was no, because if you do that, someone else is in charge. I want to show what I can do. And they were okay. It took a little bit of a convincing. But then anyway, put it all together. I interviewed a bunch of exhibitors. I talked to a bunch of folks in the industry. I compiled a bunch of data, got it all approved internally, and had a budget to put a show together. Also around that same time, I was talking to someone at Penny Arcade and I was hey, man, things are going crazy right now. And he was don't do anything because no one knows this yet, but Robert's retiring and Mike and Jerry want you to take over for him if you're down. And I was oh, wow. So then I talked to the Reed guys and I was hey, are you cool if I do this? We're all working on the same thing, but it's technically a different company. And they were whatever keeps the train on the tracks, we do not care. I ended up jumping to the other side of the fence on the Penny Arcade side. And this was 10 years ago now. I went back to them and I said, well, hey, remember that board game show I was going to do? If you still want me to do it, it has to be a PAX now. And they were that's fine. That's what we wanted in the first place. So that's great.
They're you wanted to do a show? We wanted to do a show.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Didn't take a lot of convincing. So yeah. So then I jumped kind of over to the Penny Arcade side and Reed for 5, Penny Arcade for 10, overall 15 total of PAX years. Wow. It's weird looking back and being this is the thing you're known for. I am a proud generalist. I like to say I'm a little bit good at everything. I like to say I'm good enough at stuff that I can talk to the experts and not sound stupid. If you want me to program something, I can limp my way through it, but it's better to get a programmer to do it. But I at least know enough about it that I'm not totally uninformed. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you can have that conversation with a programmer and you're going to be able to smell the bullshit.
And I can also explain exactly what we need to them in more complex terms. Same with our designers, same with our art team, same with the other facets of the business. Being a generalist is a good skill to have in the event industry because we wear a lot of hats. Yeah.
Chris, this is the exciting part. We have to know. So I got some nicknames here.
All right.
Tell us about Della Cortile in Hot Pursuit of Baton Rouge.
That was a cat I had to drive down to Maryland to pick up. She was a purebred.
Where does the name come from?
So the breeder, all her cats that came on that line had to have the word hot in it. And so Apparently, that's how she named it. We just used to call her Hottie.
Yeah.
That was my cat, man.
It's got to be the longest cat name ever.
It was hard when you went to the vet the first time. I will say that.
You said it's a purebred. What breed? I just have to know.
Abyssinian. Abyssinians are really awesome. They're one of the cats that they believe were from Egypt in that time. They have that slender, they have that thin tick coat. Very pretty.
Another nickname, Cristobal McSquinty.
That is my drinking name by far.
Okay. What are the origins there?
I don't know. I think there was, I think a friend was throwing a luau, and I happened to throw on a pirate accent, and R, it just came out. And then Cristobal McSquinty, it just stuck to the point I have a little plaque in my little tiki bar area in my kitchen that says Trader Cristobal's Tiki Bar.
Nice.
It's still around.
Later on, when you're just like, I think I should start a bar.
Oh no,
the name and
I
everything.
ran enough of them that I never will run a restaurant or bar in my life.
That's the advice I always hear from people who are in the biz. Oh, don't ever open a restaurant.
No, the only way to make money, and if you want to make $1 million in restaurants, you got to start with $3 million. Yeah, and it's very true. It sucks. It's a hard life, and I'm happy to cook, and I'm glad I have that skill. But if I don't ever set foot in a commercial kitchen again, that's okay.
I got one more for you.
All right.
What is your proudest event/achievement at the annual ChrisCon?
We used to have a local convention that moved out to Pittsburgh, and I wasn't going to do it anymore. So I ran a little convention for my birthday instead, and it's labeled ChrisCon. It's mildly egotistical. We used to do an escape room every year. I have since stopped because it's way too much work, people. Way too much. That was one of my favorite things to have made for the show, for sure.
You also had a tournament there? What kind of tournament was it?
I try to host a big game every year. We've done like Pandemic. We did Azul, and I'll make a big version of a game that we play for the final. This year I did Welcome To, but I rethemed it as a convention theme. So it was like Welcome to blank con, right? And then I just did basic Welcome To, but I subbed everything out. So instead of having landscaping, you had catering. Instead of having houses, you had tables. And the fancy, instead of pools, you had game mats on the tables. So it was a lot of fun. I had a little TV screen, did the little game show host. We had about 14 people playing it at the same time. It was pretty cool.
That's pretty cool. Ryan, I know you were worried about this next part. You don't need to be. It's all good stuff. You are also passionate about a lot of collectible card games. I'm curious about Versus System because I played a little bit of that, but you've more recently done community meetups for Marvel Snap.
I love Marvel Snap. I play Marvel Snap. I was playing earlier today. Ben Brode, who started Second Dinner, he was the one who had kind of kicked off Hearthstone, and he had come to a PAX. We actually had him speak at a PAX Dev. So I got to know him. I was like, oh, this is going to Hearthstone with a Marvel license, but it's even faster than Hearthstone. I always liked Hearthstone because it was so quick. And this is even quicker. Games only take 5 minutes and you're on to the next one. Optimized for mobile. It's a very easy game to play, but there's a lot of depth and strategy to it, which is, is the perfect line to ride. But Versus System, back in the day, Upper Deck's Versus System, I loved that game. I'm a big comic nerd on top of everything else. And that came out in the early 2000s. Upper Deck was trying to lure over all the big Magic players. So they were throwing a ton of money around, and they launched this game, and it was so much fun. And also at the time, they were one of the first games that I can remember. There's been others, but that whole play any card you want and it counts as mana.
They were, I think, one of the first, if not the first. Yeah.
Yeah. And that was revolutionary to me. And you could play cards out of that row. What's the Disney blanking?
Lorcana.
Lorcana. Very similar because you can play cards in that row, but then you can also play cards out of that row sometimes with certain mechanics. It was really cool. I loved that game. And I played that enough that I got Pro Tour points.
Ooh.
I never outright won any big tournaments, but I placed in a few in the money enough where I made enough money playing that game as a broke college kid where I could afford all my cards and I could travel around. We went to like big 16K tournament, pro tour stops in like Florida and California and this and that. It was so cool. It was the best. But I love card games. Yeah, I played a ton of TCGs. The old Decipher Star Wars game from like the late 90s. Like all my friends were like pros at that game. We loved that game. I loved Raw Deal, like the old WWE card game or WWF.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, from like the Attitude Era. And it's funny, I was just talking about this mechanic, but like Raw Deal and the Decipher Star Wars card game, and there were some others like in the late 90s. They all use this like your deck is your life mechanic.
Yeah.
That was the best part about Star Wars was like you would cycle through your deck 2, 3, 4 times, right? And but once your deck was gone, like once you lost all your cards, you were done. And I feel like the industry just abandoned that. I feel like there hasn't been a game where your deck is your life like in like 20 years.
Yeah, it's completely gone now. I think part of the issue is that life totals to begin with are more and more frowned upon. And then on top of that, if in addition to having a life total, you're also milling yourself, it leads to inconsistencies with running your deck. I'm kind of like you where I think it was a really cool and charming kind of aspect of a lot of those card games, but I understand why like a modern design sensibility steers away from it, because then you got what they call the grognards who are like, oh, my deck is inconsistent because of the random milling mechanic.
That's true. And you're right. Like in more modern games, it's like, no, about point totals. We're trying to build up to a certain thing, first person to 20 points or something like that. And it is like, all right, first person to 20 points or I do 20 damage to you. Like if you zoom out far enough, it's kind of, it's the same thing, but just a different spin. But mentally, it feels better to be the first to achieve 20 points rather than rob you of 20 life points, you know? There's probably a generation of game players that aren't even familiar with this kind of setup and mechanic. And I wonder if just for like a novelty's sake, like if a game were to try to implement it, how it would go, you know?
You mentioned Raw. I got one more for you. The custom messy heels for Xavier Woods of The New Day.
Oh, yeah. I have a whole setup in my house for painting custom shoes. So I used to make custom 1-of-1 sneakers for myself. And then you run into a wall where it's like, I can only wear so many shoes. So I started making them for friends and stuff. Right. And then I made a pair for the New Day. I made a pair for both Xavier and Kofi. Xavier, Austin, he is a good friend. He has come to PAX a ton. He's been on AC Inc. Before the pandemic, I like made this decision where I was like, I'm going to start trying to use the show just to like meet people I want to meet. You know? I'm like, I have all these avenues, all these connections. Who are some cool people I can use the show to meet? And so I love wrestling. So I was like, I want to start working with WWE. He started coming to the shows. We put him on AC Inc. It was all amazing. He's the best. So I was like talking to him and Kofi one time, and Kofi's super into shoes. And I was like, I'm going to make you guys like a custom pair of
nice.
Of Jordans, yeah. So then I made them and I sent them to both of them, and then they wore them on TV. And I like have a screenshot where like Xavier's wearing the shoes I made, and he's just kicking Rey Mysterio in the head. And it's like, oh, if you freeze it, you could see my shoe kicking Rey Mysterio in the head. That's so cool.
My shoe kicked his head. My shoe kicked his
head. Yeah.
I get designing them, and then how is it actually put together?
I have a ton of different paints that I use, but it's actually not too hard. You got to use like a deglazer to take off the overcoat, and then you have to like sand them down. It's really easy to do color blocking. All you have to do is like, if there's a panel you want to just change the color on, you just tape around it, and then you could paint it by hand. I have an airbrush where I'll airbrush to get just a more even coat. And I mean, and then you could go crazy. I haven't done anything where I'm like painting characters on the side. A lot of color blocking and textures and stuff like that. I got a special like punches where I could put wider, like thick rope laces in, and I had to like put the little rivets to hold the laces in there. And I started playing with that stuff. I was trying to do like the Virgil Arlo off-white, where it's got like a second pair of laces that go wider than the laces. They're like overlaces. I made a pair where I like did that, and it was crazy hard. I only ever did one pair.
Do we want to talk a little bit games? Chris.
Yeah,
did you decide which game you wanted to talk about?
It's tough. The most memorable game I've had was 1824.
Ooh.
1824 is probably in my top 10 of 18xx games, and we just get to get together, play online. We do the exact same thing that we're doing right now. We hook up Discord. We run it through Board Game Games.
Oh, you do it live. You don't do async. Interesting.
No. We do it live.
Nice.
We talk crap together. We play on 18xx.games. Toby's site. I remember when we first launched Wheel Tapping back in the early days of COVID, spring 2020, and we got to interview Toby about building that site. And just to see how amazing it is, it's awesome. So now I have, a standing game on Thursday nights with my friends who live in now Texas and Colorado and Wyoming, for that matter. Wow. We don't get to play together very often, but we do get to game, hang out.
Cool that you're able to, yeah. Tom and I have been doing a lot of async games. So Tom is pretty new to 18xx.
Okay.
I am still somewhat new. I mean, I spent most of last year kind of really getting into it. We've either played in person or we've done async games, but we have yet to do a Discord live game. That's something on the checklist. So
it's a great way. I don't do any async games because frankly, I can barely keep my attention straight when I'm playing a game live. If I have to remember what my strategy was, it's not going to happen. And it's just going to be miserable.
I do it because it's a great way to get a few games in, but it's also the only way I can win because I play with 3 people who are like you, Chris, and they just can't pay attention. And then they'll forget about something really critical that I wrote a note in my phone on. So
exactly. You're like, if he doesn't do this, do that.
I forgot to put my token there. Oh, no, it's blocked.
Dot Games is, for those of you who may not know, it's basically Board Game Arena, but for 18xx games. And it's amazing. It's rules enforced. It's sandbox, very intuitive, steps you through everything, and it's great. But I find I need the person contact. Like, I need to talk to somebody. So even just sitting there playing a game on chat doesn't work. It doesn't draw me in like playing a game with. I'll sit down in this room and burn 3 hours playing a game with friends on a Thursday night, no problem. But if you put me upstairs on my laptop, not going to work. Yeah. I think what it boils down to is I'm into board gaming and gaming in general to be with people and to hang out with friends, and it's a vehicle. It's a social lubricant, right?
Right.
1824 is it's a favorite in my group. 1880 is a personal favorite.
Okay, I like 1880 quite a bit.
Yeah, and they're releasing a new one, which is similar but different. We did play that recently too. But 24 is just really cool because it does a lot in a little bit of time. It allows you to start very small companies. It has these cool mines that you get to run, which have 2 different types of trains that you're kind of trying to manage and play with. And then they all grow up throughout the period of the game. So like all of a sudden, you're like this one company, all of a sudden, like poof, it becomes this big railway, and then another one, and then another one on I think it's on the 4 train, the 5 train, and the 6 train. They all happen. Then you're trying to like, okay, well, who's going to get that? How do you jockey for it? I like what we call operational games, which is ones that you just try to run a good company, make a lot of money, and see who wins. I'm not a guy who likes 17 or all the stocks or all that stuff. Like that doesn't tend to, I'm not very good at it. Arbitrage just annoys the daylights out of me. Somebody dumping a company that I've worked hard to build ticks me off. So operation games keep the butthurt to a minimum.
I think I share a lot of the predilections you have so far in my experience with the 18xx series in general, including even like the feeling that playing in real time, even if it's online, is just a better overall experience, because playing it asynchronously is something I'm okay with doing, but I definitely I'm not trying nearly as hard.
No, I don't know.
and that's just cope because I've lost every single one pretty much. But yeah,
I'll be honest with you. I do not win very often at all. Like it's, I play with some very hard people to the point where like my local group, they're a bunch of actuaries. One of them's literally the physics chair at a local college. They do all the math in their head, and they are good. They're really good. Then I went out to Trax, which is in Colorado, and I played a game. My first game there, I won, and I'm like, wait a second. Have I been trying to play like tennis with somebody like Andre Agassi or something this whole time? And I just
you took the training weights off.
Apparently, I have not won too many since then, but my percentage is better the more west I go, for sure.
I'm curious how we would do in the larger ecosystem. Tom, I suspect that we're pretty garbage.
Oh, easily.
We're just pushing buttons most of the time, I feel like.
I'm nowhere close to ready to make any sort of claim on my 18xx knowledge.
It's just time on job. You just have to play with it. You have to push levers. You have to try different things. Don't take the same private you always take. Get something different. Yep. Try a different minor. Open a different company. Just keep pushing the buttons and play with the levers, because that's really the only way to explore, unless you're watching somebody else do that, right? Like,
right,
but then you also have to be able to be one of those people who can internalize that and make all that happen, and that's not easy.
That's a lot. I know we have a few listeners who are very much into 1880, so I'm sure their curiosity is piqued by this. So
1880, it's been my favorite game from the start, and it still is. And I'm super excited about the new one. Lonny does some really cool stuff with that no one else does with any other ones, like the way stock rounds are triggered, the way par values work inside that ecosystem. The foreign investors is a really fun way to do minor companies. It just does a lot of cool stuff. And I can't recommend it enough. It's also one of those that I think that's a good like Euro game bridge, because it kind of, the way it's paced, it works really well to bring somebody who likes heavy Euros into 18xx games.
Big agree. So Ryan, on this podcast, we like to talk about games that have stood the test of time. You brought a game here. You want to talk about that one real quick?
Yeah. I mean, my daughter, we try to play a lot of games in our house. She is 12. She loves games, but she doesn't have the patience for super crunchy games yet. Hot Streak's big in our house. Fliptoons is big. Those kind of games. And those are good games, by the way.
New Fliptoons coming out hot, I think, as of today. I think season
Fliptoons has been awesome. Yeah, I love Fliptoons. But a game that we played most of last year was one called My City. I highly recommend that one.
Yeah.
It is a legacy game, Tetris tile placement kind of stuff. Everyone starts off with the same board, but as a legacy game, you're all building your own individual cities, and then the normal stuff, you're opening an envelope, the game state is changing, and you're playing like 3 or 4 rounds per envelope. A round of this game only took like 20 minutes, if that. So we would just play like a round every Wednesday, and we did it for like 8 months.
Nice.
And we loved it. And the game is very well balanced and very quickly starts diverting, because as one player is kind of getting ahead and they have more points, and after a few rounds, they start getting penalties. You're adding more rocks. You're adding more impediments to your board, while the other players are getting bonuses as a catch-up mechanic. So what I was finding was that, like, I'm a big believer in, like, I don't let anyone win. I'm playing as the best I can play. So I sprinted out to a lead, but like,
nice.
The game is so well designed that like everyone caught up, and and then it became pretty even in the middle. It was a lot of fun, and it took us most of the year. Shout out to Quinn's. That was his recommendation when he and I were chatting at a PAX. But I loved it, and I highly recommend it to anyone, especially if you want an easy game, easy legacy game with some fun mechanics, and especially if you have like kids in that range that want something like that's fun and engaging and with a lot of thought behind it, but not like mega complicated either.
I've played My City, but I haven't played it with my daughter. So maybe this is the cue to revisit it with her. She really liked Cozy Stickerville, which is a much more recent game, New Game Alert.
Yeah, I heard about that one.
Yeah, it's in a similar space. She absolutely loved it. We actually played through the entire thing twice. It might be the cue to go back to My City and play with her.
Yeah, I have that on my list to check out. That's one of the games I want to... I mean, I'm sure all of us, we have giant board game shelves in our house of games that we haven't opened. Yeah.
Yeah. The cool thing with My City is that it has all the appeal of a legacy game without the burden of having to play a legacy game. It just feels like a lot of times, first of all, the box is huge, and then you got to get everything out. You got to get the right group together, and then you're constantly, I guess, wrestling with all of the things evolving and the mechanisms building.
Yeah, we did Machi Koro Legacy too, which was...
How was that?
That one was good. It was good. My city hit better.
Yeah.
The legacy aspect of that kind of was a little, it kind of fell apart. Not fell apart, but it wasn't like, it wasn't as structured as well, I don't think, as the My City. Because the My City, the core game doesn't change. They just keep throwing curveballs at you, but like the game plays the same way.
We just talked about Machikoro last episode, and I think both Tom and I are a little lukewarm. So we have like zero desire to try a legacy game, and then it doesn't sound like you're encouraging it either.
I like Machikoro, but the legacy version of it was fine. I don't want to like knock it. It wasn't bad. I don't regret playing it. But
it was about as good as a can of Coke.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. All right.
My City's Pepsi.
My City by Reiner Knizia, published 2020.
Okay, Kenny, I guess it's time to split the timeline once again. It's time to dive into the meat and potatoes. It's time to do the potato. What did I do last time? I said last time it's time to get into the real meat. And then on the other one, I'll say and potatoes. And then I'll say them at the same time.
I got to know what kind of meat, though, you know.
This is lore that I don't think we've yet dropped for our show, but in my head, it is always a New York strip steak, medium rare.
You have a specific meat?
I need you to turn the corner to ribeyes, though.
Hold on. Let me just update my mind's eye real quick. It's just like...
I appreciate it's not filet. And strip is solid, but true love is found in the ribeye. If you're going to mention meat and potatoes, I'm going to give you 50% of that. So.
And now it's the potatoes mode.
Yeah.
This is the potatoes timeline of the meat and potatoes, which is the main topic of the episode. So this hopefully is a little less confusing for Ryan. We're going to fry up some... Ryan, why don't you pick a potato?
Like a hash brown?
Yep, that would work. Time to get in the real ribeye steak and hash browns of the episode. The main topic. Let's stop yapping about steaks. Let's actually get into the meat and potatoes of the episode. The part of the podcast that people scroll ahead towards the main topic of the week. The thing that we brought Chris on the show to talk about. And this week, that is building a board game convention, running a board game convention, attending a board game convention. Some or all of those things. I'm not exactly sure what the scope is on this, Kenny.
The best way I could describe it is what I messaged you. Things that board gamers would be interested to know about how conventions work that they probably don't know.
So I think there's two ways to kind of approach a convention. And that is either from the exhibitor side or from the attendee side. If you're coming to the show as an attendee, my first big convention was Unplugged because it's in my backyard. It's not even an hour away from where I live. So in 2017, when they started it, I'm like, I'm there. I was one of those first people buying a badge, and I like went and I fell in love with it. What you quickly learn is you need to pace yourself.
Right.
Conventions are big. They're very big. There's something for everyone at each show. And some are going to specialize in some things, and some are going to specialize in others. Finding the show that fits how you want to go to a convention and what you expect out of it is just as important as the actual show you go to, right? Like, I think that's a big chunk. We try to be a little bit of everything. But I literally talked friends out of going to Essen. They're like, well, we want to go. We want to play games. And I'm like, if you want to play games, you don't want to go to Essen.
Yeah, that's a big thing. Play conventions versus buy conventions.
100%.
Pretty big difference.
I mean, you can play at Essen. Don't get me wrong. Last year, I had the best year of my life there. But that's because I had friends. We gamed in our hotel. We went back at 3 o'clock and we gamed with what we bought. There's nothing at the convention to do for that.
Yeah.
It's a shopping convention, essentially. That's one extreme. And then Origins always used to be my favorite convention to go to play at because they always had tons of space. They have a great library, good games available. They had good exhibitors. I haven't been in a few years because timing of Origins now really stinks for me. But in the past, I loved it. It was great. You know, I'd always walk by rooms of people playing RPGs, but I could always play games, get in games. You game in hotels, you game at the show. Like it was everywhere. You know, I found Unplugged, and Unplugged does a little bit of both. You know, we have shopping, we have gaming, we have a first look area that brings stuff over from Essen. And then you kind of have Gen Con, which is just a monster. It's an 80,000 person monster, but it's great. And again, a lot of shopping, but there's also a lot of gaming.
Yeah, I always thought Gen Con was more of a shopping one, but that might be just me seeing it through the lens of social media and that being the focus.
Yeah. And I'll be honest with you, when I go, that's all I do, because that's also where all the people I know and my clients are. So when I walk around Gen Con, yeah, I stay in the hall. I'll game in the lobbies and things like that at some of the hotels generally, but I know people who go there for RPGs and they never go into the shopping hall.
Right. Yeah.
They go and they schedule games and they play games the whole weekend. So I think finding the right kind of vibe, and don't even get me started on all the small little local conventions or the midweight regional conventions. Board Game Geek, we overlap PAX Unplugged with Board Game Geek a lot. And I'm like, but it's a different convention. If you want to play games, go to Board Game Geek, people. They have a first look room. They have everything. Great games to play. But that's what you're doing. That's destination gaming. If you want to buy something cool, go play it, and then go back and get the expansion for it, and then sit down and play it, that's where PAX Unplugged kind of comes in. I'd say start small and find what you like. Find your tribe. Find how you want to interact with it. If you want to go gangbusters and try to figure out how do you get home 50 pounds extra in your suitcase and luggage, and you want to go to Essen or you want to go to Gen Con, have fun. It's great to do once. But man, clock how long it takes you to play all those games, because I think I still have a couple games I bought at Essen that have not even touched the table here. And it's 8 months later now.
Conventions are tricky. I think most people understand that it's a ton of work. Like, you look around, you see these massive buildings and all these people there, and you like, logically, you're like, the logistics behind this are huge, and you're right to think that. The thing that I find funny is we get suggestions all the time where people are like, you should do another PAX, and it should be in this town.
Yeah.
The logistics that go into where a convention goes are insane, at least for something the size of PAX. Now, I'll tell you how, like, when the first PAX started, Min-Max, when we were like putting together where that was going to live, like, everyone jokes with me because I'm originally from Philadelphia, and they're like, oh, you put it in your backyard. I'm happy it landed there, but it really wasn't that. Like, what happened was we were putting our stuff together, evaluating the game space as a whole. A lot of people said Pacific Northwest. A lot of people said the Northeast. And I was like, we have a show in the Northeast in Boston, and we have one in Seattle at Pacific Northwest. Gen Con's got the Midwest locked up. So we were trying to figure out where to put it, which is why we landed kind of in the Mid-Atlantic. When we started putting together the RFP for this, we were going to different cities and saying, like, hey, we're going to bring a convention. It's going to be X size. It's going to be this much square footage. We're anticipating this much attendance over the next 3 to 5 years. Because, like, when you're locking a convention in, you're going to sign a contract for multiple years. Like, what you want to do is kind of hold dates. You don't want to just be like, hey, I'm going to do this in 2028 and then not do another one. So you need to lock your dates down. You need to assume it's going to be successful and grow. You're going to want to ideally to secure more square footage year on year. And what you'll find quickly is you're talking to all these different cities and their different venues, especially in terms of PAX. We kind of landed on Mid-Atlantic because so many people were pushing us Northeast that we kind of like, we were like, all right, well, we got to at least get down from Boston a little bit. So we were looking at Philly. We were looking at Baltimore, DC. I had Pittsburgh in the mix. Philly emerged as one of the clearer options because of the size of the convention center, because of the amount of hotels, because of the airport, easy to get into, easy to get out of. And also the dates when we decided, like, what can the team handle? And then what does the industry want?
Right.
So when we landed on like early December as where we wanted to put this, because it was far enough away from East, but also far enough away from West, it was like a nice little middle spot between those two shows. Philly also had the dates we needed. So that's kind of how we landed in Philly. And it's been great. Philadelphia has been fantastic. That show has been exploding year on year. After every show, we like do surveys and we do satisfaction polls from both attendees and exhibitors. And, that show is like perfect scores. Like, it's crazy. Like, everyone is so happy with that show. And I'm very happy with it. I love it. It's my baby.
Chris, there are a lot of people who they kind of sprint into the hobby. They find out about it and they're like, oh my goodness, this is an amazing world. And then they all of a sudden eat it all up and they're buying like a huge slew of games that have just come out in the last 2 years. And then they go to Essen or I would say even Gen Con. Yeah. They like go there, they go nuts. And then there's like a cool off period after that. What I'm understanding is like make sure that's the right place to go, kind of do like a gear check almost and find your tribe, like you said. Yeah.
Trust me, I want you to come. I want you to spend money. But at the end of the day...
You may be biased.
Right. Well, yeah. But I also want you to spend the right money because,
right, yeah.
you know, as somebody who's probably... I mean, I think my library is about 800 games, and I've probably... traded, sold, given away that much. I think it takes you a long time to, let's put it this way. If you don't know what type of gamer you are yet, going to conventions is only going to be horrible because you're not going to know how you need to interact and you're not going to know what you like, or you're not going to know if you can sit down for that demo of Lignum that's going to take an hour and a half. It takes us a while to figure out what we like.
So Ryan, one thing that Tom and I were curious about, since we are more in the board games media space, what is the difference between somebody who goes on the media side? We heard about kind of the differences between attendees and then exhibitors.
PAX is different than other shows. I mean, we have a lot fewer badge types than I think most other conventions do. This was a decision made before I ever started, but I think it's a great one, and I'm glad it is the bedrock of the show. There are no VIP passes. You can't buy status here. It's very egalitarian. The show, everyone's on even footing. So you have like your exhibitors, and anyone who is an exhibitor will be on the show floor, and they'll have a booth at an Unplugged or even at, you know, a PAX East or West. There are folks who are running their booth and showing off their game and interfacing with fans on the expo floor. Right. But then beyond that, you've either got a single day badge or you've got a multiple weekend badge. After that, we have media badges, and media badges are specifically for anyone that's going to come and cover the show. That's both media and content creator. Anyone who's gonna come to the show and, you know, write articles about the games they see, about the show itself, any of that sort of thing. That's the only real request. Like, and we follow up with it too. We make sure, like, hey, we gave you a media badge. Did you cover the show? Did you actually use your platform?
We're not necessarily about like the newest, hottest thing, but are there ways in which we could cover it potentially that might be interesting because of that unconventional approach?
Our PR team will go through people that apply for that, and they do an amount of vetting just to make sure it's not
some scam. Yeah.
Or someone just trying to scam their way into free badges, or like some random, you know, college kid in his dorm room. Like, I'm a blogger or something. You have to be like some measure of outlet with some measure of following. Then someone meets those parameters, then we just say, yeah, here's your badge, enjoy the show. Please, you know, take advantage of the facilities that we have. There's like a room where if you're going to write articles, it's like a quiet room that we call the media room to like put your stuff together. There is a benchmark of how much coverage we request out of you. Just don't get a free badge, come to the show, and don't talk about the show, you know? That's all.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Chris, you mentioned also taking the exhibitor angle.
Yeah.
I don't even know where that starts. Like, how does that work?
Honestly, it starts with an email. Somebody sends an email and wants to apply to come to the show. Rewind 4 years ago, you know, we could let a lot of people in. It was very easy to add people to the hall and to take chances on people. But now, as we've grown the show and it's literally bursting at the seams, I now turn away even more exhibitors than we actually end up accepting. So, you know, I've probably turned away over 400 this year, and we're just halfway through the year.
Does it ever go the other way? Do you ever send an email to like Stonemeyer or Leader and you're like, oh, are you going to be here this year? Or you don't need to?
There's always a couple, right? Like, I mean, there's my wish list. Like, I mean, dude, I would love to have GMT come to a convention, but they're never going to come because that's not on Andy's to-do list. He's not, nope, I don't need to do that. I'm good. I'm like, all right.
You're not going to get John Borer to show up. Yeah. There's a certain crowd that doesn't do conventions, I feel like. GMT, Winsome,
And that's fine. Also, let's be honest, the PAX audience is very unique compared to, say, the alpha gamers of Gen Con and the families of Essen, along with the alpha gamers. 75% of the people come to Unplugged. That's their only convention they go to. So they're not alpha gamers. So there are some people who struggle to do well with that audience. There are some that just do amazingly well. Like All Play booth is always packed year after year. Obviously, Asmodeus, right? Like it's the people who have the stuff that crowd wants. do really well. The back corner that has like all the small, unique indie publishers, totally hammered all weekend long. It's a different animal to what you get at the other shows. So for an exhibitor trying to come in, it's very attractive. But it's also, look, I don't need any more guys selling dice. We're good.
Yeah.
We're good.
Can't figure out where to buy them by now.
Dude, and trust me, people who make dice, if you're listening, diversify. Find a unique angle.
I'm always saying this, long dice.
Long dice. Yeah. Like baseball bat size dice. I like that. Just throw a bunch of sticks on the ground.
Just a bunch of sticks. You read the bones. There you go. There's an untapped market.
I think novelty dice that are playing with the standard shapes. I'm sure there already are exhibitors that are doing this to some extent. I'm just spitballing here. I don't know why we're now pitching at like shark tanking dice, but
What if dice belong? That's what they were missing. That's why you said no, because you measured the length of their dice and they were equilateral triangles and equilateral.
Inadequate. Isosceles only, baby. Yeah. It's just one of those things where it's like, I would argue, the people who have a thing that is kickstarting. Well, that's great. I love you for that. Good job. Hope it works out. But also at the same time, what is that giving to the attendees? You literally have a booth that has nothing. You get them excited for a game. They won't see it for maybe a year and a half. And some people don't even understand the Kickstarter process, let alone, get involved in that ecosystem. So we have to be careful how many of that's in there, because we want everybody to be happy at the end of the day. I want people to make sales, but I also want the clients and the customers coming through to meet each other, to have a great time, to make a connection, have a great show. I have friends, and they're not big-time gamers. They're where I was like 8 years ago, where they're excited, and now all of a sudden they're like watching the Dice Tower, and they're telling me stuff, and I'm like, I don't watch those because I just don't have time to watch, what did I get to play at this convention? I'm like, I don't have time for that, but I'll watch some stuff. They love finding those cool little things tucked in the back corners and finding these great little games that, no one else does. And now we're starting to see some of the Asian publishers are starting to find inroads that way. So it's kind of exciting to find like Crafty Games. Crafty Games is bringing over Austria, and I'm like so excited this year. That's like a cool big game. Like they brought over Park Life and little cart games, and now they're bringing over pretty substantial games.
Yeah, they're doing like bigger boxes. That's exciting. Yeah. So Ryan, sorry to make you repeat this, because I know you talked about it on a previous podcast, but I really liked what you talked about in terms of signage. How important signage is, and then also making sure your signage is year agnostic.
My approach to a show is, it seems obvious, but I feel like without naming names, I don't know. But
I don't think it's obvious. I think this is still something that, especially at board game conventions, people are not thinking about.
The trick, quote unquote, to just making sure the show is fun and accessible and easy to navigate is just mentally put yourself in the shoes. So like when we're laying the show out, I just like to pretend. We try to do as much as we can in terms of pre-show education. Like we send out a bunch of emails, we send a bunch of letters. There's a letter that comes with your badge. And obviously we really try to push the mobile app because there's a ton of information in the mobile app. But like you still have to assume that like there's going to be people that you missed, that they either didn't read the emails, they didn't know there was a mobile app, they didn't go on the website. And so just put yourself mentally at the front of the show, like you're walking through the doors, and assume you have no knowledge. Like assume you didn't get any of the early preview stuff. What's the first thing you see? What's your first experience? To that point, signage does a lot of heavy lifting. I feel like I go to shows all the time and they don't have nearly as much signage as we do. We spend a ton on signage, but I feel like it's really important. There's going to be a lot of people who are just walking around and be like, where am I? Where am I going? And signage and enforcers. Our enforcers are by far the best and most important part of the show. I can tell you, I talk to other showrunners for other conventions, various other fields. They are the envy of the industry. And everyone's always like, oh man, how the enforcers for PAX are so great. How do we get something like that? And I'm like, first, get a time machine, go back 20 years, and then start a very cultivated, very dedicated grassroots community that slowly grows. It's not something you could do overnight. It's taken a long time to get to where it's at, but they are phenomenal. And because they're so good. The enforcers are our support staff. They're the folks in the shirts that you see around the show that are running different zones and that can answer your questions. And because they're so great, we empower them. And because we empower them, they rise to the challenge. There's very much a chicken and an egg thing too. If you were to,
it's like a positive loop.
Yeah. Can you empower a group that you don't have trust in yet? And it's like that sort of thing. So yeah, we are very, very fortunate in how great our enforcers are. And they're a big part of the new user experience, which is something I think about all the time. It's like, because I've been doing this for 15 years and I've gone to a million conventions, I take for granted that I know how to navigate my own show or someone else's show, right? Once you've done a handful of conventions, you know just how these sorts of things work. Mm-hmm. But there's someone who's never been to a convention. They've never been to a PAX and they've never even been to a convention. What is their experience like? What are they seeing? What are their expectations? And trying to like anticipate and meet them.
I'm a UX designer by trade. That's my day job. There's a really good book by Steve Krug. It's probably outdated at this point called Don't Make Me Think. And he talks a lot about that, making sure that you're walking through it as a user, assuming that they don't have the information, even if you've made it available in multiple ways, figuring out what that's going to look like and what the most likely path is, as well as the unhappy path and how to mitigate that.
Oh, yeah. I love that sort of stuff. Going back to like UX and design, like we try not to make things too wordy. The stuff we put like on the back of the badge, we refine that like a million times because it's like, we could write 4 paragraphs that goes over everything, but someone's going to see that wall of text and they're going to bounce off it. So it's like, how do you get the message across with economy of words and economy of scale to make sure that it's the most digestible, which is a board game design principle as well, right?
Yeah.
I highly recommend going and watching Ben Brode's. He's got a GDC talk that's great. I go back and watch it every now and again when I'm like working on my game, because he talks about a bunch of different things that went into creating Marvel Snap, but he references a bunch of other books and a bunch of other speakers. And I forget who it was that he mentions, but like they have a rule in their card game design where they're like, once you write more than 8 words, like people, your eye doesn't absorb the words as well. So it's like, try to stay under 8 words per card. Don't write a wall of text.
Yeah, I feel like Wizards of the Coast could kind of go back to basics on that.
I was thinking of that as I was saying it. I was like, maybe some of these practices have fallen out of favor. I don't know.
The Avatar set is like, I felt like I was reading a book.
Yeah. Magic's the exception that proves the rule, though, right? Like, that game's been around forever. It's the king for a reason, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you're speaking my love language, Ryan. I love to hear people talk about how they can make things a better experience for others. So very often, people just assume that they know how to do something correctly, and that the way that they internalize things is going to be the way that other people experience it. And that's when you get really messy rule books. Things are not explained, or you get a convention where you don't even know where to pick up your badge, for example.
One of my favorite things to do is to show signage and things in our directory and stuff to people that are not in the industry. So my wife is not a gamer, but she's come to the show enough times now that like she's not useful in this capacity anymore. But for a while, gaming stuff was so alien to her that I could just be like, how does this read to you? Yeah. Like, what is this? I know how a gamer is going to interpret this, but how did you interpret it? And it's like, I still have like friends and contacts that I can use to bounce stuff off.
Chris, is there a thing other than being like a recognizable name? Is there something where you go, ooh, this is a really good candidate?
Well, number one is your application. It's important. We do look at it. And if in the first sentence you say, we sell custom dice, we're like, okay, we're done. But if it's, hey, we have this game, it's on Kickstarter, we're delivering it, and then we look at a web page. You actually have a web page. You've actually done some work into your game. You have a video that shows a playthrough. Those kind of things really help because it helps you understand what you want to get out of the show. If all you want to do is make sales, it's not a great fit because the onus is on me that you make sales or not. And if you don't make sales, you're not going to be happy. I care more about somebody who's trying to raise awareness for their product. They want people to get excited about their thing. And if they happen to make some sales, that's great. Unless you're a flat out retailer, a booth cost is a marketing expense.
Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. And I wish more people thought about it that way. It's not about how many units can you push. It's how many fans can you make. There was a book I had to read. I went to work for a restaurant company called Darden, Red Lobster, Olive Garden, Bahama Breeze. They own all these restaurants. And when I went to work for them, they made me read a book that was called Raving Fans. And there are sometimes, you read corporate books that they give you and they're nonsense. This one really struck a chord because it was about how do you turn customers into fans? And how do you turn those fans into marketing people for you? Amplify the good voice versus the bad voice. And sometimes it's just a matter of making someone's day. I quickly learned a thing, like if I was a manager and I had to visit a table twice, I bought their meal. I bought all of it. Like, I didn't care how big the restaurant was. I didn't care how much the bill was. If you had 2 problems, I bought your meal because I want you to come back and I want you to be, that's an exorbitant response, right? Or I just walk up to a table. I had a really garbage visit at one table. I walk up to the next table and I have a great visit. And I'm like, you know what? I'm buying your dinner tonight. Thank you. And they're like, wait, what? You don't need to do that. And I'm like, look, I buy food for people who are annoying all the time. It's nice to buy food for someone who's happy, right? And just having a good time. So it's one of those things where it causes you to kind of seek out touch points and moments to make people happy and be fans and kind of magnify the good word of what you do. And I think it's very relevant today, even though I read it 20 odd years ago now.
That's cool. What was the name again?
Raving Fans.
Raving Fans.
I think I'm very good at my job because I look at both exhibitors and attendees as clients. At the end of the day, if one of those groups is lacking, we have a crap show. So, I need to make both of them happy. And that means making the right choices and exhibitors for them. And when somebody sells PAX, PACS, then and that's kind of self-selection, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Understand what, somebody told me I have to be at this place. So here, I'm applying for this place. Well, no, because frankly, I kind of want fans. Yeah, it's a different audience. I want you to understand that coming in. I don't want to have to educate you to that.
So Ryan, if there is one thing that you could say to a younger Ryan about like organizing any of these shows, what would be the thing that you would impart on young Ryan?
I'd say just go to LA. Don't stay in Philly those 3 years.
Maybe non-specific to your life story.
Really be thankful for that show you're going to be able to get in under the wire in 2020. You're going to be mad that you have to do a PAX East in February of 2020, but really be happy about that one, actually.
Yeah, you're not going to be too enthused about what happens in the world immediately following that.
No, totally. And like looking back, we still had PAX South at the time. And in 2020, we did a PAX South in January. And then we had PAX East at the end of February. We got it in under the wire. Like nothing had popped off here. You were starting to hear about it a little bit about COVID in Asia. Sony and someone else had like pulled out last minute. But otherwise, like you hadn't really heard about it in the US yet. We got that show off. And then 2 weeks later, like everything shut down. It was crazy. I mean, we all lived through it. It's a weird like thing that every single one of us experienced at the same time. But being in the events industry, like when your job is public gatherings and they're like, that's the one thing you can never do. It's like, oh God. If I could go back and tell myself, hey, you're not going to do anything for like a year and a half. That would have been kind of cool, actually. I would have like written a book, I would have done something. But instead, it was like a whole year of like, well, maybe we could get this out. Maybe this is only going to take a month, Remember, like no one knew. It was so weird. Yeah. Like we didn't know we were going to have to cancel West in March. The news was like, look, everyone just you gotta go home for like 2 weeks and then we'll be good. Mm-hmm. Right. And then it was like, now it's the summer. And then it was like, maybe not.
Chris, we're hitting that point. Anything you want to shout out? Where can we find you?
My old YouTube channel, if you're really interested in 18xx content, Tony Fryer and I did about like 60 episodes of wheel tapping. You can still find out in the ether. And you can follow me. I just do Blue Sky these days.
And right here, Ryan, is where you can plug your stuff. Where can people follow you? How can they find you?
I'm with Penny Arcade. So on our Blue Sky and our Twitter and our Instagram and everything, it's Penny-Arcade. I'm R. Hartman on a lot of those and like PAX as well. We've got at PAX at most things, yeah.
And of course, they can see you DM on some episodes of Acquisitions Incorporated as well.
Player character, yeah.
Well, he's done both.
I'm a player every now and again. If you want to dig up our old D&D series, Acquisitions Incorporated C-Team, I was a player on that. That was a ton of fun. We still do C-Team games every now and again. We just did one recently.
There you go.
It's been an absolute pleasure.
Yeah, likewise.
It's going to be fun to see how this is juxtaposed.
I'm curious to see how you do it. If you think I'm chatty, wait till you get Reiner.
Okay.
Oh, perfect.
Let's just say your Patreon, you're going to get your money's worth this time.
Thank you especially to our listeners for tuning into this, and more than anyone, our Patreon supporters for supporting the show. You can subscribe to our Patreon for free at patreon.com/shelfstablecast. You can get access to our monthly newsletter, but consider a paid tier subscription, access to our Discord, unedited episodes, and of course, bonus content. Helps us make the show the best thing that you can be listening to. Thinking of Bonehouse for letting us use your song Raw as our opening theme.
If you've never been to a convention, I encourage you to go. Find a local one, find a small one. Anime conventions, comic conventions, they're all having some board games at them. They're a lot of fun.
Thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you, guys. This was a lot of fun.
I'm glad. Bye, everyone.
We'll see you later. Bye, everyone.